Okay, so I look horrendous, but I don't care. So I want to talk about bigger lizards, like monitors mainly, and maybe rhino iguanas or green iguanas. You know, they're big lizards. People tend to. This is I'm talking about the UK. You know, they're relatively cheap. Like you can see a Nile monitor. You know, a baby Nile monitor for 100 quid, or 120 quid or whatever in a shop, and you think, oh, I'll get that. Forgetting the cost of the vivarium, forgetting the cost of, so you buy a lizard that's like 100 quid, you think that's cheap, and then by the end of it, when you've bought everything you need, you spend about 400 quid. Now, if you've got the money to do that, that's great. But then you get home and you think, this is going to look good there. So you put the Viv in the corner, say it's a 4x2x2, put it in the corner, that looks fantastic. You're like, yeah, this is great. And then 6 months down the line, your lizard can't even turn round in that Viv. It's that big. These guys grow quick. Depending on how you feed them. If you feed them all the time, you're just going to do them damage. Let them grow gradually, but still, even when they're growing gradually, they grow quick. So I would really think about it, to be honest. Really think, I'm not looking at the camera. I'm looking at my phone, not the camera. But so ignore that. Anyway, yeah. So these people, they buy them, and with all the right reasons in the world, that they're going to take care of the animal and this, that, and the other. Then this lizard is all of a sudden, it needs a massive enclosure, and some people don't have the space, so that lizard then gets put up for rehome. And it's a bit like foster kids, if they don't get on, or the kid's a bad egg or whatever, they just get moved on. And these poor lizards spend their life just moving from place to place, from place to place. It's not fair. So if you're gonna get an animal, any animal, do your research first. Research it. Research how big it's going to get. Make sure you preempt it. So you put it in a 4 foot enclosure, knowing it's going to need to go in a 10 foot enclosure. So you have that in place, ready. You know. So I've been talking about an Asian water monitor that I picked up. I did pay some money for her, but she came in a sad state. And I've put her in a temporary enclosure while I'm building her bigger enclosure. Now, the person I got it off had this lizard. I'll show you her in a minute, because she's a bit more relaxed now. As I said on my channel before, I wasn't going to start filming her because she didn't seem too relaxed. She's a bit more relaxed, and she's only in a temporary enclosure, so bear that in mind. Temporary enclosure. So yeah, this person I got it off. I travelled about 4 hours to go and get her, and to be honest, even if she was in a worse state than what she was, I would have just taken her anyway, because I couldn't leave her in that. She was in a 3 foot wide, 2 foot deep, or 1.8 foot deep, and 4 foot high, or 5 foot high. Now you're thinking that's quite a big enclosure. When you put her in there, it wasn't. She had no UV, and I said, why hasn't she got UV? And he said, oh, she keeps smashing the bulbs. So we just gave up giving her UV. If the lizard keeps smashing a bulb at my house, or can get to the bulb and break it, I will then build mesh around that bulb. Or, it costs, what, 8 quid to buy a little roll of mesh and just put it around the bulb to protect it and protect the lizard. So, you've got to do these things to ensure your animal's going to be safe, and you're not going to be spending millions of pounds on millions, stupid amount of money on replacing stuff. Excuse me. So yeah. Anyway, I'll show you the lizard. Bear in mind, this is how big she is now, and she would the enclosure I just told you that she was in. So there we go. Okay, ignore the mess of my old reptile room. So here she is. She's a little bit skinny. I've fed her up since she's been here. She's had 2 rats and quite a bit of fish. And she's had the lot. She's eaten the lot. So, actually, no. She left a couple of fish the other day. But she's been eaten. So I've got her eaten. I've got her back up to temperature. Now, when she came here, her patterning on her back was jet black. Everything was black because she had no UV. She had no proper lighting. She had nothing. So, and when I got her back here, she spent the entire time at the cold end of the Viv in the water. I thought she was dead the one day. I picked her up. She was stiff as a board. I put her back under the heat. And now she finds her own way to the heat. So now this is a temporary enclosure. Okay, this is just temporary. This is how I do it. So this Viv is 10 foot long. 10 foot long, 3 foot deep and 5 foot high. Now that's just temporary. Someone said to me, oh, she'll be all right in there for the rest of her life. I don't think so. I mean, she's there. She's got all this space, which is nice. And she probably could, but that's not how I do things. You know, if you know my channel and you know me, I give my lizards a massive amount of space because I don't handle my stuff. That's only me personally. So I don't handle my stuff. I kind of give it enough space to live its own life. And I can just watch from afar and enjoy them, you know? So yeah, this is just a temporary enclosure. And there she is. She's about 3 foot. So she's probably going to get a little bit bigger. She's definitely going to get girthier because I'm feeding her properly. She's getting the right amount of food. So yeah, here she is. I haven't got a name for her yet. So in the comments, please give her a name. I've been told she's a female. I'm going to go with female for now. When she's a bit more, when I've put her in a bigger enclosure and she's been in there a while, then I will mess about with her and have a look underneath and see what I can see. She's a little bit skittish. If I move too fast and stuff like that, she'll just run off. But yeah, here she is. She's under the light. She's under the UV. So she's got a 160 mercury vapor bulb there, giving her UV. She's got a UV light up there. She's also got a 150 watt bulb there. She's knocked over her thermostat, which was there. So at the top, where that thermostat is, where she is, where her right arm is, sorry, that thermostat is, if I can read it, 91. So that's away from the bulb. So underneath the bulb here, where she is now, that's about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The whole Viv itself, I mean, at the cold end, when I put the temperature up here, it went down to like 74, which is a little bit too cold, but I'm still happy with that. She, in her old Viv, all she had was a broken shelf to bask on, which was snapped and it was hanging off the wall, so she could only hang on to it, and a 100 watt bulb blaring down on her. That was it. That's all she had. So here, she's got her colours out. She's brightening up. She's eating. She's drinking. She's obviously swimming in her water because her water is absolutely filthy this morning, which I've just looked at. So I'll change that over in a minute. So yeah, that's what I do for the lizards. So I knew if I took her, I had this 10-foot enclosure to put her in. You know, if I hadn't have had that enclosure or hadn't had the room to put her in, I wouldn't have taken her. I wouldn't have even bothered going to travel. So there she is. She's glorious. She's not bitey. She's just skittish. She's missing a claw on her other foot, and she's missing the very, very, very tip of her tail. That doesn't bother me too much. I haven't got these animals Just because, you know, I'm not like, oh, if it's not perfect, I'm not having it. You know, I want to give them the best of their best quality of life they can have. If they're not in the wild, I want them to have the best quality of life. So yeah, there she is. And I'm really happy that she's out basking, which is beautiful. She's had no UV, so this UV is good for her. Yeah, so that's, you know, that's what she's in at the moment. It's a big enclosure. She's the only animal in here at the moment, except for the chameleon eggs down there. 48 of them she laid, good girl. Yeah, so all this is going to be ripped out. All this is going to be ripped out. And I'm going to replace all this with racking for rodents. I'm going to breed my own rodents, you know, for reptile purposes. Yeah, so this room's going to get a bit of a revamp, but not before I finish her enclosure, which is down the bottom of the garden. Again, big lizards. My rhino iguana. He is a big boy, a big girthy boy. He's just waking up. So. And he's got a 15-foot enclosure. 15 foot by 5 foot by 5 foot. At this end it's 6 foot. You know, because obviously the roof slopes. So even that might be a little bit too small for him. But he seems to enjoy life in there. It gets really hot because it's all... Obviously I keep my stuff outside and it's all insulated properly. All this is insulated. The shed is not insulated, but the vivs themselves are insulated. As you can see, I've done the background in the vivs, and that's 4-inch polystyrene, which is an insulation. So the vivs themselves are insulated. We go down the bottom of the garden. Excuse the state of it. Look at it. I need to cut the grass. It's winter. I don't care. Now, obviously, the guy had a water tub in there for a water monitor, which was the size of, you know, a sink tub, what you put in a sink. This is her bath. It's huge, you know. I can climb in that, so she can swim around in there. So again, make sure you've got the right sizes. So if we go into, oh, I can't get the keys to work. If we go into the reptile shed, oh, there we go. Come in here. Oh my god, it's warm in here. Oh, that is lush. So, I mean, look at the size of this, Viv. Look at the size of it. And that's one Aki. One Aki has all this. All this, all to herself. There are going to be a couple more going in there, but still, that is a huge enclosure. Same with this. Same size as the Aki enclosure. 3 little chameleons in there. 3 little females. There's one. Right there. You know, 3 little chameleons. Another one at the top there. It's a big enclosure. 2 basilisks in this huge enclosure. You know, I don't understand why people do it. I mean, this Viv here, my Savannah monitor Viv. Now that's, I think, just over 11 foot. 3.5 foot deep, 3.5 foot high. And Loaf, he's a big boy. He is a big boy. And he's got all this space. You know, you've got to give these animals the best life you can give them. It's like you see some little chavvy, you know, in your town that thinks he's hard, walking down the road, skinny as hell, you know, his clothes hanging off him, thinks he's rock hard, and he's got a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. Now, that Staffordshire Bull Terrier, they're beautiful dogs, but that is what's making that kid look hard, you know? So, getting it for all the wrong reasons. So, same with these guys. I want to get that. That's a 60-pound lizard there. I want to get that, but look how big they get, you know? If I stretch him right out, he's coming on 3.5 foot, you know? And they can give you a nasty bite as well, so you've got to know what you're doing with him at the same time. So, her enclosure, the water monitor enclosure, I mean, let's put a light on in there. Look at it. I know it's not finished, but look at it. I can get in here and I can walk up and down. And I'm giving all this space to a 3-foot lizard. Because that's what they need. That's what they need. It baffles me that people get them. That's why you see them up for rehome so many times. Because they can't look after them anymore. They can't, most people live in a, some of these younger people, students and that, they live in an apartment building. They live in a flat on, like, say, the 5th floor, and they get a Savannah monitor. And the Savannah monitor needs to dig. You're going to have about half a ton's worth of earth in an enclosure. You're going to have that's a lot of weight to put in a flat if they do it properly. But you're guaranteed they don't do it properly. They get them when they're babies and they stick them in a little tiny viv. And then that baby in 3, 4, 5 months' time is double the size of the viv. And they're like, what do I do now? I'll have to give it away. So it's not fair. It's not fair. And it gets my back up. Okay, so I've come back inside now. Because it was cold in my garden. Yeah, so like I said, it gets my back up. So let me just say this, I am no expert at all. I have my own collection that I know what I'm doing with. If someone came round here with, I don't know, green anoles, I wouldn't have a clue. I don't know anything about them, But you're guaranteed that I do my research, I mean, the internet can be a blessing and a curse. There's a lot of idiots on the internet, a lot of know-it-alls, so just do your research and study as best you can. And if there's 15, 20 people saying the same thing, then they can't be far wrong, I did have one girl, the enclosure I put in, the enclosure that's underneath the water monitor in my old shed, that's nearly a 10-foot enclosure. It's just slightly smaller than her enclosure. That's nearly a 10-foot enclosure, 3 foot deep and 3.5 foot high. I had in there, that was when I rehomed Loaf. Because what you see is about that much substrate at the front, it would make your mind automatically think, oh, that's how much substrate he's got in there. That's wrong, because at the back I ramped it up, and I had a 4-inch waste pipe underneath that he can bury, like he can tunnel in, and there's an entrance hole and an exit hole. I had that at the back of the Viv, but I put it up on the rehoming site that I got the Savannah monitor from, because someone said, oh, can you link the enclosure you're going to put him in, please? So I did, and the admin of the rehoming site on Facebook took my picture down of the enclosure. And I said, oh, why did you take my picture down? And they said, because you can't expect to put a Savannah monitor in that enclosure. And at the time, Loaf was only small. He wasn't big. He would have been dwarfed in that enclosure. She said he doesn't have 2 foot of digging. And I was like thinking, they don't necessarily need 2 foot of digging as long as they can burrow. It doesn't have to be 2 foot. My argument was, they don't walk around in the wild trying to dig a tunnel and going, and measuring it, saying, right, that's not 2 foot, I can't dig there. Oh my God, I'm gonna die if I don't have 2 foot. He had probably 1.5 foot of digging. I mean, those 4-inch pipes are, to bury that, you have to have a lot of substrate. So that was that really annoyed me as well. And then I looked at her profile after that. I did a bit of stalking because I'm an idiot, and she had it looked like maybe a Mangrove monitor or a smaller monitor. And she put a picture up of the monitor in its enclosure, and it was in a tiny enclosure. And I was thinking, you hypocrite. Do you know what I mean? So, but the woman who was rehoming the monitor saying, "I'm absolutely more than happy for you to have him. That enclosure's double the size of what he's in now. It looks like he's going to have a good life." And as you can see, Loaf has a good life. But yeah, so just do, like I said, do your research. There's things like on YouTube. If you watch people like Camp Kennan, amazing fountain of knowledge. Wolfie's World, he mainly does Blackthroat monitors and stuff like that. But again, working with bigger monitors, you can't go on what they're doing because they obviously live in Florida, so they can keep all their stuff outside. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough. So they can keep their stuff outside. We can't do that here, obviously, in the UK. You can if you've done what I've done. Like my enclosures that I've built outside, they're small houses, so it's got to be insulated. That enclosure that I built for Loaf, for Chad, my rhino iguana, before I even put him in there, I was testing the heating daily to see what temperatures it got, especially at night time and stuff like that. Now, I finished that enclosure in the summer, so that enclosure got stupid hot, stupid warm. It was brilliant. But this is the first winter I've had that enclosure for up and running, and he's underneath where he sleeps on the slabs. Underneath that slab is an oil-filled shed heater, screwed to the bottom of the plyboard and surrounded in mesh. Now, I put that there for him to find the heat at night time, so he can go in there. It's like a cave, but he doesn't go in there. He just sleeps on top of the slabs. And I've got a little temperature gauge at the bottom, right at the cold end of the vivarium. And in the mornings, I work in Fahrenheit, so in the mornings, the temps at the very cold end of that enclosure on this winter, it was at 62 or something like that, and that's the cold end. So the warm end must be quite warm. There's no point in me putting the thermostat at the top end, because he just knocks it over and throws it on the floor. So if the cold end is showing 62 in the depths of winter with no heating on, then I'm okay with that, because these animals will drop. If you go to Africa, it's blistering hot in the day. As soon as that sun goes down, it's almost freezing cold. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the heat in his enclosure. And he's still feeding, and he's still running around, and he's still being an idiot. So that makes me happy. But yeah, like I said, do your research. I keep repeating myself. Do your research. Make sure you've got everything sorted out. If you want to get a monitor, you need to watch people like Paws Monitors. He's a fountain of knowledge as well. He's helped me so much. I've been messaging him on Instagram and stuff like that, and he's helped me a hell of a lot with my monitor breeding, because I haven't really bred monitors before, and I'm trying to get into that. Now I know I've got the room, and I can set these guys up the way I think they should be set up for me, or for them. Then yeah, I'll start breeding them, and having people like Paul in the industry, in the hobby, is a real blessing, because they help a lot, and he's a super cool guy. So yeah, like, if you want to get your first, if it's monitors you're after, if it's monitors that interest you, and you say live with your parents, or you've only got a room, or you've only got a certain amount of space to have this monitor, don't get it because you know it's going to get big and impressive, because you're not going to have the room to do that. Oh, for God's sake, look at this. Look at this. I can't move. She's just climbing all over me. Yeah, so, you know, don't do it. Like, if it's monitors you're after, go for smaller monitors, you know, Aki monitors. They're like bearded dragons, but monitors, you know. They got wicked personalities. They got, you know, amazing temperaments. I mean, they can be a little bit nippy, but, you know, you can work with them. Monitors are intelligent, so you can work with them. And they're a lot more easy to house. They're a lot more easy to house because they only get about, you know, 12 inches long or something like that. So I might even be going too far with saying that. But yeah, just don't go for these big animals if you cannot house it. They are a commitment, you know. They are a commitment. You know, they need to be treated as if you were treating a family member. You know, look after them. So that's all my rambling today. I just had to make a small video. It's been quite long. I had to make a video because when I picked this monitor up and I saw the enclosure it was in, it pissed me off. And, you know, I want people to have these animals. I want people to enjoy these animals, but I also want the animals to enjoy their life, you know? When you make an enclosure with an amazing background and a water fountain and having it look fog going everywhere. I mean, yes, that helps the animal a little bit, but that viewing pleasure is for us. The animal couldn't care less. You could put Lego in there and the animal will use it and hide. It couldn't care less, you know? So making a vivarium look pretty and stuff like that is for our benefit. Because you don't have animals walking around in the wild saying, I'm not going to go in that garden because those trees haven't been pruned. You know what I mean? It ain't going to work like that. So, there you go. But yeah, sorry for the long video. And, you know, if anyone has any qualms in what I'm saying, I mean, please put it in the comments. I mean, keep it nice. You know, constructive criticism is always welcome. And if you think I'm hitting anything wrong, then please tell me. You know, like I said, I am no expert at all. I just do my research, and I know I have the space to do these things. Luckily, I'm a builder, so I've got the space, the tools, and the skill to build. So yeah, just enjoy your animals, but make sure your animals are enjoying themselves. See you later.